Hello, friends. It's time for another story. I have no idea why I stopped like that randomly. It's been an interesting night. Anyway, this is a continuation of a story, a part 3 from Reddit user Erutius. It is time for Vampire Beard, part 3. A vampire without a coffin. I think I might know what happens in this one. Just the euphemistic nature of the title. But let's find out together, shall we? Let's do that together, like a family. These are not family stories. Don't make your family listen to this. But also, let's do this together. What's going on, all you delightful degenerates? I may have to steal that. It is I, Eru, once more coming to you with more of the Vampire Beard saga. This one continues to tell the ballad of the bearded and the befuddled. Fascinating. In our last episode, Im and your humble narrator were invited to the den of Vampire Beard so that we could meet his coven and roll some dice. Well, that never happened. For one reason or another, Vampire Beard was asked to never darken their lair again, so we rolled dice with only us three. Im the Necromancer and Vampire Beard, the doppelganger bard swashbuckler, traversed the land with a magical sage and found an abode most foul. They fought some zombies, some ghosts, sprung a trap or two, before finally requiring a pause because of real-life obligations. Vampire Beard rolled a tantrum check, and it was roundly ignored as Im and Eru opted to walk home. Vampire Beard relented and took them home, and now everything is good and right again. That is, until about a month later. So we had stuck to a 3 nights a week schedule, sometimes hampered by my work needing me for overnights, and had finished the Stephen King-style undead house. They had beaten the Jeepers Creepers monster, seen the entire house burn to the ground, and all 4, VB wanted a second character, and I was like, okay, had escaped, the old mystic sacrificing himself to be sure that the monster was in fact truly dead. We started a new campaign, something basic and adventure-y, when VB comes up to us one afternoon and says that he can't play tonight. This was odd behavior. If there was one member of our group who was always down for D&D, it was our doppelganger bard and halfling luck thief. We asked what's going on, wondering if he's sick or something. He said no, he's fine. I've got to pack up my place. We're shocked. His house had been his coffin, his slab, his crypt away from the graveyard, and we were very surprised to hear that he was giving it up. We had been back since that fateful game night, mostly to hang out, or so VB and I could talk about spirituality and paganism in general, and we knew how much that he liked the place. He lived there for about 3 years before we had met him, and was clearly distressed about having to leave it. Dude, what happened?
Oh, my landlord raised the price of rent again, and I just can't pay it. I think he's trying to muscle me out because he wants one of his friends in that unit, too. I think he thinks that I'm the one who keeps reporting them for selling drugs in the complex, but I know for a fact that it's the old lady who lived there before he bought the place.
Oh, dude, that sucks. Where are you going to go?
Well, I suppose I'll have to move back in with my parents. Not looking forward to that. My mom's a real bitch.
I know that some beards talk about, ugh, my mom is such a bitch, but in Vampire Beard's case, he wasn't wrong. His family were hardcore fundamentalist Christians. Oh, now we've landed directly in my territory, have we? And they did not agree with his religion, his lifestyle, or his garb. No, I imagine they didn't. They're an interesting crowd. VB would tell us stories about his mother burning his Magic the Gathering cards, taking his religious books and throwing them away, spilling bleach on his clothes so he couldn't wear them. Wow, what absolutely shitty behavior from someone who's supposed to be an adult. They wouldn't let him express his faith in the home, and he'd have to rent a storage unit to put his things in or risk having many of them destroyed. We felt bad for him, but we didn't have much to offer the poor guy. VB's apartment doesn't really get enough credit in this story, and that's a shame. In the 2 months since we had known him by this point, we'd also made some better memories there than being held hostage. Since this will be a rather short story otherwise, here are 2 of the ones that stand out the most. Story number 1, the bad druidess and the awkward hangout. Some minor addition to our cast list, the druidess herself, Phoebe's ex-wife. They still hung out a lot, they had a kid together, and she was one of those pagans that thinks that patchouli oil is a replacement for a bath. Oh dear God, no it's not. Please get in the bath. She was crunchy, smelly, and amorous.
Oh my.
Im was raiding one night, and I was geared for the raid they were doing. I want to say it was Black Temple, but that was a long time ago. It's fine, I don't know anything about World of Warcraft, so you're basically just speaking strange alien talk to me. So, rather than bounce around Burning Crusade land by myself, I decided to go and visit VB. He had asked earlier if we wanted to hang out, and we said that we might, so I drove over, and there's a weird car in a spot that usually is reserved for guests. Okay, nothing weird there. Some cokehead accidentally parked in VB's guest spot. Whatever. So I park somewhere else and go up. Vampire Beard answers the door, opening it just a crack, and tells me that it's not a great time.
I'm entertaining quite suddenly, and I think...
About that same time, someone calls from inside. Who's that, VB?
Oh, just a friend of mine, love. He stopped by to...
Well, show him some hospitality and invite him in. Vampire Beard gave me a frustrated look and asked if I'd like to come in. I should have made an excuse. The old boy was clearly trying to let me know that he was busy. But about that time, Druidess comes to the door and smiles brownly at me. I don't know if I want to know what you mean by that. She extends a hand and introduces herself, smiling when she hears my name. Oh, Vivi's told me all about you and Em. Come inside, we're just hanging out. I smiled and said I really needed to get going. I really didn't want to interrupt Phoebe when he had guests. I smiled because it kept my mouth busy from doing things like vomiting. Yeah, I kind of estimated that's what you might have meant by that, oh dear God. Druidess had an aura about her. It was an aura of funk that seems the sole domain of hippies. Druidess smelled like she hadn't showered. Ever. I almost threw up. That's disgusting. Or maybe just took dust baths like an owl. Don't know. She was pretty, I suppose, in that prettiest girl in the trailer park sort of way. You're just going right for this lady's soul, aren't you? She was 5'2", slim without being underfed, and a smile like a hockey player. Ow! Her hair also looked like it had never been combed, and her funk was dulled only by the scent of patchouli oil. I came in, seeing wine glasses and candles lit, and immediately knew that I need to leave. They were watching Sweeney Todd, a movie I would come to learn is his go-to movie for getting goth chicks all hot and bothered. That works. And they had clearly been cuddling under a blanket. She sat between us, VB giving me a look that said, "Dude, get the fuck out of here." And me returning it with a look that said, "I have no idea how to bail out of this gracefully." Especially considering that while we were having our silent conversation, I felt something fall across my lap. I looked down and saw the blackest, dirtiest, most scabby feet that I have ever laid eyes on. Oh my God! Oh my God! I don't like to wear shoes. Shoes make my feet sweat, they're uncomfortable, and I prefer to go barefoot if I can. I'm the exact opposite. I wear combat boots everywhere. Fuck you. I have to wear boots for work. I also love boots, so go figure, but if you come to my house, I will be barefoot with my hairy hobbit toes on display. Please stop describing this for me. That being said, I take care of my feet because it's easy to get them infected and lose them before you know it. So wash. I wear socks sometimes when it's cold, and I generally just take care of myself. When I tell you that these were unkempt, they were fucking talent. Her toenails were long, dirty, and starting to chip. Oh my God. Why are you doing this to me? Her feet had cuts on them that looked like they could benefit from a peroxide bath, and the bottoms were so black that I couldn't see any of the pale flesh present on the leg itself. Also, not to nitpick, but she didn't shave, and sandpaper calves were making a rasping noise on my jeans. This is an extra special kind of moment, isn't it? I don't really give a shit if you want to shave your legs or not. I mean, I do, but that's just me. I was very uncomfortable, to say the least. Phoebe, you never told me how handsome your friend was. You know I've been looking for a new paramour. That's when you leave. That's when you just like, nope, gotta go. Something came up. Bye. Just bail the fuck out, sir. Bail the fuck out. Do not get in the middle of somebody else's relationship. Fucking bail. At that time, I did not know what they meant, but they both had this way of slipping into Old English or weird old words that could be kind of infuriating sometimes. I could see why they hit it off.
I don't really pay attention to those sort of things, dearest. I'm usually much more interested in the fairer sex.
Druidess leaned up, trying to whisper in my ear, but mostly just filling my nose with the scent of patchouli and unbrushed teeth.
Oh my gosh! What do I do?
Fancy a trip upstairs with me, Phoebe? Won't mind. We've been quits for a while. We can get to know each other a bit better.
You are literally in this man's house. On his sofa. Getting ready to do the nasty with this brosif.
Why are you like this? No.
I was trying not to noticeably cringe, the dumbass second brain between my legs, the only part of me that was remotely excited, when God looked down and saw that his boy needed a lifeline. My phone vibrated, and I pushed her legs off as I stood up to take the call. It was actually a text, but I hammed it up, pretended it was from him. Said some shit I can't remember, basically insinuating that something had happened. I excused myself, saying it was nice to have met her, and taking my leave. Druidess looked a little mopey, but pulled it around as she called in what was supposed to be a sultry tone, I'm sure.
I'm sure our paths will cross again. Hopefully soon.
Only if you learn what a fucking shower is. I got in the car and fucking booked it. VB texting me later to thank me for finding a reason to leave. He told me that he had sealed the deal after I left, and I tried not to cringe so hard as I congratulated him on his conquest. I returned home to wash my pants, play some Fallout 3 for the rest of the night. Story 2. Thanksgiving dinner. So it was our first Thanksgiving away from home, and we're feeling a little low. My family had gone back to my grandmother's house for a family Thanksgiving, and I couldn't go because of work. Em wanted to go home for Thanksgiving dinner as well, but the store he worked at needed all hands on deck for Black Friday, and he was on the floor that night for sure. So there we sat, sad and homesick, when VB came over for a visit. VB noticed we're kind of down and asked what was going on. We told him, and he nodded and asked why we didn't just come have Thanksgiving with him.
I'm on that night too, so why don't you guys just come over before Em and I shift and eat with me? Druidess and my son went to her parents for Thanksgiving, and I'm not going back to Mother's house after last year. So bring a side and come over. I have turkey, stuffing, sweet potatoes, rolls, lots of soda, 3 kinds of pie. You guys can just help me eat it.
We thought that sounded like a really great idea, so I made some mashed potatoes the night before and green bean casserole. Em's mom gave me the recipe, and we showed up about 11. VP had been cooking all day, it seemed, and his kitchen was full of tasty smells, and his counter was stacked with food. We ate and ate and ate, watching movies on his laptop, until it was time for all of us to go to work. It was probably the best Thanksgiving a couple of bachelors like us could have asked for, and it really made us feel a sense of camaraderie with VB. So when we say that we're kind of down about him losing his place, you can see why. Yeah, it definitely has a history, I can totally see that. He spent the next week during Hangouts kind of guilting us in a whole woe is me kind of way. We helped him pack up his apartment, loading furniture on the U-Haul and getting boxes ready for storage, and he dropped a lot of hints that he wished that there was some other way. We spent a bit of time over there, not sure when we see him again, honestly, and it was a pretty somber mood for that week. Sometimes he would just look around the apartment and sigh deeply, theatrically, as he took it all in, and made mental memories of his lost home. 3 days before he was going to have to move, he finally decided that we were too dense to come to the conclusion of our own.
Hey, so before I moved to my parents' house, I thought I'd ask if there was any way I could just move in with you guys. My car's been acting up again, and I'm not sure I could make the drive to work every day for long. I could pay rent, I'll even cook sometimes, buy groceries. What do you say?
Em and I looked at each other skeptically. We liked VB well enough, but our apartment was kind of small for 3 people. We lived in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, and both Em and I were not keen on sharing a room with someone. Vampire Beard was a nice guy, but we both really didn't want to have him living in our rooms. When we voiced this, he already had the solution, it seemed.
No, I could put my clothes in your closet and just sleep on the sofa. I have blankets folded neatly every morning, out of the way when I wake up, so I won't be a bother to either one of you by sleeping way too late on the sofa. I won't be a bother. It's just until I find someplace new, please?
Em and I said that we really needed to think about it, and he said that he understood while looking like we had just kicked all of his puppies. We went home and thought about it, genuinely contemplating the idea, and him and I talked about the possibilities. I mean, neither of us used the living room that much. We mostly just played D&D in there, or Xbox.
Right, but we really want him just, hanging out in the living room?
What, you think he's gonna steal from us?
Well, no, but we both kind of like our privacy.
True, but if he paid some of the rent, it would mean we'd have to pay less rent.
That's also true. What would we even charge for someone to sleep on the sofa?
We decided on $200 a month, and we told him that he could come and stay. You would have thought the moon came out after 1,000 years of sun. Vampire Beard thanked us for our generosity, saying that we wouldn't regret it. He moved a reasonable amount of his stuff in, and we made some space for him to set up his altar and move his clothes in the coat closet in the living room. He labeled any food that he specifically didn't want eaten. We cohabitated. Though Vampire Beard had promised to make his stay brief, he basically lived with us for 9 months, right up until Georgia Beard made us kick him out. Sorry if this one isn't a particularly interesting story, but that's how Vampire Beard came to live with us. But don't you worry, because Vampire Beard had a plan to bring OP's GM career to the next level. Tune in next time for Vampire Beard, the Masochism. Money for nothing, games for free. I want my MTV. Until then, this is Eru, telling you the truth, no matter how beardy it gets. See, this is actually a good example of a neckbeard story about somebody you actually know. Most of the time, when we hear neckbeard stories on this channel, or in a lot of channels, it's stories about people who have, brief run-ins with these people, or have met them through someone, or have met them because of, work, or some sort of dating app or something like that, but never somebody who actually knew them on a more personal level. I kind of actually come from a background like that. When I told my own neckbeard stories and the ones that I knew, it was because I had known these people for a while. It wasn't just, some random people that I had met on some random chat site or something. And like you do with any friends, you have good memories, you have bad memories. I have good memories with some of the neckbeard friends that I used to have in the past, but the problem is that their own bad behavior is what sort of drove us apart. But that's not to say that there weren't good times. There are absolutely good times, and those times were wonderful, which is kind of what Eru is describing with a lot of this. The Thanksgiving thing, the game nights, all this other stuff. And it's they can be a lot of fun when they actually want to be like a person and be fun. The problem is a lot of neckbeards are very insecure and things like that, and therefore it starts to create these issues where they try to project and act a little too crazy, and it makes them gross, especially when it comes to the ones who have a lot of issues with women. So, yeah, I can understand not wanting to have to deal with that. However, if you actually did know these people on a more personal level, it definitely is one of those things where you can have good times. And like I said at the beginning of this, Vampire Beard kind of has a special indentation with me because he just makes me think of King Cobra. And I don't know how many of you who watch these actually also listen to my weird streams, but we like King Cobra. He's a weird dude. He does some weird shit. He tends to drink a little bit too much. And, has his own strange way of doing things. But he just seems like a genuinely kind of I'm gonna do me kind of guy. He does whatever he can. He, for the longest time worked at Wendy's, and then he had some other little odd jobs here and there. He does the YouTube thing just because he likes hanging out and talking to people. He's just some weird, goth boy who somehow is in his 30s. And he has a little apartment, and that's just what he does. And Vampire Beard reminds me of that. He's just some weird goth boy who never really grew up. But he's also understanding enough of his situation that he knows he has to be responsible. Knows that he has to take care of things and have a job and do stuff. And that's fine, So far, he seems strange, but not the worst. I mean, fuck, he's not really that far off base from a lot of the goths I used to know in the past. The really dramatic ones are the ones you have to watch out for. The ones who are constantly about how everything is just pure misery and things like that. It's nobody talks like that. Come on, dude. So, yeah, this was actually a lot of fun, and I look forward to the next part. And I hope you all are enjoying this as well. If you are, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. I have a Ko-Fi, and I have a merch store. You can check out both of those. I make sure that I can keep doing stuff like this. And if you can't, that's okay too. I have my own subreddit if you'd like to send me your own stories. And like I said, they don't necessarily always have to be neckbeard stories. They can just be any strange story you want to share. r/Moonhorse stories. I'll definitely check it out. I have my own Discord if you want to come hang out with me and all my weird friends. And the links to all these things are in the description of this and every video, actually. So go check it out. I love you all so very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye, everybody.